Thank you. And I'm going to start off with, I have a book for you all to read, if you would like to. And the name of the book is called Our Town. And it's written by a lady by the name of Cynthia Carr. And Our Town is the story of, there are two of the most infamous lynchings in American history. One was this book, and one was Marion, Indiana, where two people you see were lynched. There were actually three, just to give you a little hint, and that person survived. So when you want to pick up this book, this is a really good book, I think, to pick up. The two most infamous places were, of course, Marion, Indiana, and Omaha, Nebraska, because of the horrificness of the lynchings that were. I mean, there were lynchings all over the country, but in particular, Marion, Indiana, and Omaha, Nebraska were the two where they were considered to be the most horrific lynchings. This is what I would rather talk about today, but because I agreed to talk about the East-West divide, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to start with the premise. First of all, people, there is a perception, and some call it reality, and I do believe to a certain extent it is reality, but I believe that barrier can be broken down. Is there an East-West divide? Do people think differently in the western part of Omaha than they do in the eastern part of Omaha? And that question, I mean, I guess the question does exist, and the reality to a certain extent is there, but how deep is it, I think, is part of what we want to explore tonight. The first time I ran into what I consider to be part of the East-West divide was prior to me running for city council. I was the chairman of an organization called the African American Achievement Council, and that was a group of citizens that were working with the Omaha Public Schools in an effort to try to close the achievement gap. We were to come up with ideas, solutions, and so forth to attempt to close the achievement gap between black students and their non-black peers, is what we were attempting to do. And as a result of that, you know, there were constant battles with the legislature about funding properly the Omaha Public Schools. And we went to Lincoln for 3 or 4 or 5 years in an effort to try and gain more funding for the Omaha Public Schools because of the kinds of barriers that existed to education for especially poor people. So we were in Lincoln about 4 or 5 years, and then what became known to our superintendent under surreptitious circumstances was there was an effort to remove some language from the state law that most of us were unaware was even there. And it wasn't until